I just received a new locomotive from Scale Trains, and as you can see, it's an SD45. And I also got some candy. Not a big butterscotch fan, but I'll have a go at the Smarties. So let me open up the box and show you what it is. Now this locomotive is a little bit special for me, because this is the first time that I've had one from this road. Got the manual. You know, I like that it has slot volume where I can change the volume for some of the sound effects, because that air compressor almost always drives me nuts. And here's the function chart. So I'll probably be putting this to use pretty soon. And here we go. It is a Denver and Rio Grande Western SD45. This is the first Rio Grande locomotive that I've ever had. You'd think, being an SP fan, that having a Rio Grande locomotive would be a no-brainer. For some reason, I've never had one before. The SD45 occupies an interesting time in locomotive and General Motors history, where General Motors in 1966, when the SD45 was first being built, through 1971 when the SD45 production stopped, General Motors was building big block Corvettes and Super Sport Chevelles and Olds 442s and Pontiac GTOs and Buick Grand Sports. And the EMD division of General Motors brings out the SD45 with its 3,600 horsepower 20-cylinder engine. And this was the bad machine of the rails at that time. It's interesting to think about the escalation of power in the automotive world and the railroad world, where in 1954, EMD came out with the SD9 with 1,750 horsepower with its 16-cylinder 567 diesel. And then just over a decade later, the SD45 comes out with 3,600 horsepower and a 20-cylinder 645 turbocharged diesel. And so the horsepower was doubled in just over a decade. The SD45 was popular with Western railroads. Now, the Rio Grande, being a smaller railroad, had 26 SD45s, where the Santa Fe had 125 SD45s, and Southern Pacific had a whopping 317 SD45s. From the research I did on the Rio Grande SD45, it appears that 5334 was in the second order of SD45s, and as far as I could tell, all of the Rio Grande SD45s are no longer in service, although a number of them were converted to SD40-2s and are still in service with UP. Now 5334 is unknown. I couldn't find any information on 5334, although 5335 was rebuilt as an SD40-2 and is still in service. Well, let's take a look at the scale trains rivet counter SD45. Now the fans look fantastic, and the fan grills are just super fine and delicate. I love all the bolt detail and the bolt detail on the upper panels and the real super fine lift rings. The lower front pilot detail is really nice, with the MU hoses, the fittings on each end, the air hose with fittings, and coupling lever. Then we have the plow. Just nicely done. Looks really nice. Front of the low short hood, we have the Mars light, the class lights. Class lights have some nice bezel detail and screw detail. Nice hinge detail, MU cable box. The paint looks super nice with real nice clean separation between the colors. All right, let's fire it up. Check out a few of the functions. It has 31 functions. I'm just going to check out some of the basic functions. So, need to start it up. And I have walkway lights. I have lights underneath the front trucks. Turn on the headlight. F0. F1 is the bell. F2 is the horn. Love the horn. F3 is the handbrake. Hear the ratcheting handbrake. F5 is class lights. White. Green. Red. F7 is the gyro light. F12 is the headlight dimmer. Turns off the gyro light. And those are the basic functions. Like I said, it has 31 functions, but I'm not going to go through all of them. Before I take it out and run it, I'm going to want to make a quick adjustment. I'm adjusting the decoder in the Rio Grande SD45 to get it to speed match to my Scale Trains Southern Pacific SD38-2. I would like to run those two locomotives together. So now I'm in the CV table making some adjustments. Well, I'd like to show you some running of my new Rio Grande SD45. Unfortunately, it continuously derails. And I think what the problem is in this front truck. You can see this wheel set moves freely back and forth. This wheel set moves freely back and forth. And the center wheel set is pushed all the way to the left, and it does not move back and forth. And so even in a 25-inch radius curve, it derails. And if there's even the slightest change in pitch in track, it derails. So I can't even make it around my layout, which is frustrating because I really want to run this locomotive and I want to pair it up with my Southern Pacific SD38-2. But unfortunately, I think it's going to have to go back to Scale Trains so they can fix the truck and that wheel set. It's really disappointing. So I'll contact Scale Trains and see if I can get a return authorization for the locomotive and to see where that goes. I'll post a follow-up and see what they do, see how they treat me. But I think this is the end of this video. I can't run it. Well, I can run it, but I can't run it very far because it derails. So, well, I thank you for watching. My excitement has leaked away a little bit, but, we'll get it fixed and get it on the layout and get it running. So thanks for watching.